What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. My grandmother used to always say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What does that even mean exactly? It's such an old-timey saying. What that means is if you do something to somebody else, well, expect that to be done reversed right back to you. You punch someone else in the eye, expect a black eye yourself. You chip someone else's tooth, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's Old Testament justice right there, baby. So what's good for you is good for them, and expect it all to come right back around. That's karma, baby. And now what you're seeing inside of the political world is people saying, wait a second, why don't we just take Joe Biden off the ballots? We're a bigger state than Colorado. Maybe if you're going to normalize taking Donald Trump off the ballot, we just take Joe Biden off the ballot. The lieutenant governor of Texas, who would oversee such a feat, was saying straight up, wait a second, you're going to go after Donald Trump for insurrection, something that Donald Trump has been found innocent of in an impeachment trial, and something that he's never been charged with in a formal trial, in any civil or federal conviction. Something he's not even being charged with, much less found guilty of, much less acquitted of. So now you're going to say he can't run for president because you didn't like something? Yeah, baby. How about this? Real insurrection is allowing 8 million criminal migrants, many of them from hotbeds of terrorism, to enter our nation, and we have no idea who they are or where they're going. That's an actual insurrection against our nation, and then using the American military to facilitate that. So that's using the American military against the American people. There's your insurrection. Let's strip Joe Biden from the ballot. And by the way, it's not just him. Ron DeSantis floats the idea that Biden could be removed from the ballot for letting 8 million illegals into the country and violating the Constitution. Same thing. Speaking at a campaign event on Wednesday morning, following the ruling in the Colorado Supreme Court disqualifying Trump being the state primary ballot, DeSantis said, what you're seeing the left do, they'll use the power of the state to advance their agenda. And you see that with Colorado Supreme Court. So then DeSantis went on to say, could we just say that Biden can't be on the ballot because he let in 8 million illegals into the country and violated the Constitution? I mean, hey, look. If somebody's convicted of something, some of these things, there should be no trial in any of this. They're basically saying you can't be on the ballot. How does that even work? Ron DeSantis is a lawyer himself. So multiple people are asking this question. And of course, the state of Texas is straight up saying, like, you have no idea what you've done to what you've done to our state. Like, you destroyed our state. This is why the state of Texas signed a law recently, yesterday, actually, on the border, saying it is now illegal, punishable by 20 years in prison to enter the state illegally if you're a foreign national. You shouldn't have to do this because the 1964 Immigration Act actually says you can't do this, right? So the laws of America state you're not allowed to come into this country illegally. Yet, Democrats have ignored those laws and has staged an insurrection against our nation. So by every measure and by every mean, Dan Patrick here, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, is saying, we're just going to take Joe Biden off the ballot here. Well, that wouldn't be very good. There's a lot more people in Texas than Colorado. A lot more people in Florida than Colorado. Why don't we just remove Joe Biden's name from all of those states? Most of the states in America are red states. Why don't we just remove Joe Biden's name from all of those states? You set the rules. Here's the Lieutenant Governor of Texas saying, you know what? F around, you find out.
To deport them. Joining me now is the Texas Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick. Dan, now the White House said today that this law won't make communities safer. Your response?
So we spent a lot of time, Laura, in the Senate writing this bill along with the governor, and we believe we have a bill that will survive any type of Supreme Court challenge because we are being invaded. Arizona tried this about 10 years ago, but our law is different. It simply says that our law enforcement can arrest anyone, take them in, do a background check, photograph, do fingerprints. If they saw them cross the border illegally, we can do that. Or if they happen to reveal in the arrest stop that they crossed illegally, and then the magistrate will send them back and will escort them to the border. And they have a choice. They can go to jail or they can go back. And if they go back and try to come back again and we arrest them again, the penalty gets even higher. We're fed up. In fact, seeing what happened in Colorado tonight, Laura, it makes me think, except we believe in democracy in Texas, maybe we should take Joe Biden off the ballot in Texas for allowing 8 million people to cross the border since he's been president, disrupting our state far more than anything anyone else has done in recent history. And so this is so outrageous. 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 people a day crossing the border, 8 million
Now, the
people
numbers,
since he's been in office, enough to be the 12th largest state.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Now, I think the numbers people are numb to the numbers now. It's the sheer mass of humanity that is obviously taking over cities, local communities, school districts, healthcare system, homeless shelters. I mean, it is overwhelming already overburdened state and local budgets. And now, Dan, this Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, decides, well, it's time to go after Texas. Watch.
I'm very concerned because the Republicans have never gotten immigration right. When you look at somebody like Greg Abbott, my governor, and his solution is to basically say, hey, we're going to kill people that are trying to come in. Like, that's not a solution.
So, Dan,
kill people?
You're a congresswoman from Texas. You're trying to kill people, you and Abbott.
Yeah. She's Jasmine Crackpot, not Jasmine Crockett. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Our bill, Senate Bill 4, says we can arrest them and send them back. We also passed another bill to put another $1.5 billion into building more wall, and we filed another and passed another bill, to deal with human smuggling, because the Biden administration is doing nothing, Laura, as we all know. We know that hundreds of people on the terrorist watch list have been apprehended. That doesn't count all the people we don't catch. We know that sex offenders, rapists, murderers have crossed the border, and Biden does nothing. He puts our lives at risk. They don't care. But, you know, again, Laura, our founders.
They don't care that. No. Dan, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the representative democracy. They don't care about democracy. And they certainly don't care about how many Americans and legal immigrants have been killed or brutalized or beaten or robbed because of the people they don't care. That's all a collateral damage. Dan, we got to roll. Thank you for joining us.
For his part, Joe Biden doesn't seem that particularly worried about this. Joe Biden repeated the lie that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. Watch.
Is Trump an insurrectionist, sir?
Well, I think certainly it's self-evident. You saw it all. Now, whether the 14th Amendment applies, we'll let the court make that decision. But he certainly supported an insurrection. And no question about it. None. Zero. And he seems to be doubling down on about everything. Anyway.
No, okay, got it. Yeah, he supported an insurrection by questioning the election. Just same thing that you did, by the way. Joe Biden is an election denier. 2016 and in the year 2000. Joe Biden denied the results of elections. Democrats denied results of elections every time they don't win. Until now. Now that all the wiring and all the rigging has been done, now that the results will spit out what they want, now every election is secure and sacred. Got it? Except for the last 5 that they lost. Donald Trump saying they're the threats to democracy.
It's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They are willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win this election. Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. It's a threat. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls.
That is correct. And that is precisely what Joe Biden. Oh, it's clear. It's clear he instigated an insurrection. Hey, Joe Biden, what is the definition of insurrection exactly? This is the definition of insurrection. This is the definition of insurrection. These are the high special interest aliens. Special interest aliens is a nice, legally massaged word for terrorists. These are the people from terrorist hotbeds that have crossed into our country illegally by the tens of thousands. 30,000 from Turkey, 6,000 from Afghanistan, 3,000 from Egypt, hundreds from Iran and Iraq, Jordan and Lebanon, Yemen. We're at war with Yemen right now. We're letting hundreds of Yemenis into the country. Uzbekistan, Syria. We're at war with Syria. We're currently at war with Syria. There are American bases in Syria we're at war with. Pakistan. This is what an insurrection actually looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, even Joe Rogan straight up sounding off on the border. So this, again, gaining steam. Do we now remove Joe Biden from the ballot based on his insurrection? Like, by definition, insurrection is an armed attempted takeover of the American government. And is that not what Joe Biden is doing by allowing the military and Border Patrol to facilitate the invasion of our nation? So that you could have an entirely new population of Americans who weren't born here You could enfranchise them, and then they'll have fealty to you and your party. That's exactly what they did in California, and it's exactly what they're planning on doing everywhere in the country. Baby, just ask them. Joe Rogan, listen, man, if Joe Rogan's on your side on something like this, a question like this, like, there it is. The border has been invaded. How many of them are militants? How many of these are forming terror cells? They're importing Democrat voters. If you rig it so these people are allowed to vote, they're going to vote for Democrats. The words of the most powerful podcast in the world. Watch.
You know, there's the fucking border's been invaded by hundreds of thousands of illegals. How many of them are militants? How many of them have snuck in across the border and are forming terror cells? We don't know. I mean, that's the giant fear.
That's for sure happening.
For sure.
There's no doubt.
For sure.
I read this thing that there's like 6 to 10 million people that came across the southern border in the last 4 to 5 years. That's as many people that live in New York City. And then like a crazy increase in people coming across the northern border.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Like, and I see it. I've been in California a lot the last few months. It's insane how many more people are just obviously all of a sudden just appearing, like getting dropped off on like street corners with buses, literally just in the middle of nowhere. They literally just get off the bus with a cell phone.
But look at New York City. When Cuomo was explaining how New York City literally has a mandate to house its homeless.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the people that lived there that were down on their luck. And now it's people that have come in from other cities or other countries rather, illegally. And they're trying to make it so that those people can vote. And you see what they're doing with people from Venezuela?
Crazy.
They're sending people back from Venezuela.
Only from Venezuela.
Yeah, because Venezuela opposes socialism, so they're not going to vote Democratic.
Yeah,
they don't want those people.
That's crazy.
It's fucking wild.
It's crazy how it's so odd. Like when you start thinking about it like that, that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's like totally political. All these moves.
100%.
Yeah,
they're literally importing Democratic voters.
Yeah,
they think by allowing the borders to be porous and by giving people aid and giving people housing that you're essentially guaranteeing that if you can rig it so that those people are allowed to vote, those people are going to vote Democratic. And if you could say that, oh, voter ID is racist, like what? Voter ID is racist.
That's crazy. They think that.
They
don't think that. They don't think that. They know that that's not true.
It's horse.
Yeah,
it's all political horse. But that's unfortunately the level of discourse that we have today, especially with all the virtue signaling on social media and all the people clamoring to prove that they're the most progressive and the most open-minded and equitable, and we're all down for inclusivity and like,
yeah,
bro.
There's going to be repercussions to all that for sure. I mean, you see the videos in New York City and Chicago and these places where they're just dropping all these people off. They'll like video 500 people in a row and it'll be like 2 women. And almost everyone's like between 20 and 30 years old.
Yeah.
It's all military age dudes.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is going to happen 5 years from now?
Right.
With like 10 million illegal immigrants here.
Also, if you're importing people that have come from horrible crime-ravaged parts of the world, that's what they grew up with. That's what they're accustomed to. And if you also have a defunding of the police, and you also have a complete disrespect for law enforcement in this country, well, it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, and think of it, it's so crazy because everybody has a smartphone these days. Even in, almost pretty much every country, people have smartphone and access to the internet. There's 8 billion people on the planet. The U.S. has an incredible, like the lifestyle, like the normal lifestyle in America is crazy. It's like a joke how good it is. Like people got it so good in this country. It's insane. 8 billion people are looking at that with social media.
Yeah.
And they're seeing on the news thousands and thousands and thousands of people walking across straight into the U.S. And getting all these incredible things in return for doing it.
Yeah.
Like I would be wanting to come here too if I was from some f***ed up country.
100%.
Yeah, so you
I
can't
don't blame them at all.
No.
I don't even blame them. I would 100% be one of those people making their way across. If I lived in Guatemala or wherever, all I had to do was like hike for a couple of weeks and I could be in America and get a landscaping job and feed my family. And
you get a bus ticket to freaking Tijuana or wherever and then just walk across the border.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then I feel like nobody agrees that having a secure border is a bad idea. I think everyone thinks that a secure border is a good idea.
Well, it became a political talking point during the Trump administration because people wanted to label Trump as racist and they wanted to label the wall as racist. But meanwhile, Obama
That's crazy.
it's so dumb. Obama was talking about that. Obama was talking about that in 2013, that we have to secure our borders.
And I was reading that it would cost between $4 and $6 billion to finish the wall, and we sent $100 billion to Ukraine.
We accidentally oversent $6 billion to Ukraine.
That's enough to finish the wall and secure the border. Like, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.